What's up, Server Nation? My name is Michael Reed, the podcast server, and you are listening to Process Server Daily. On this podcast, we interview the top legal support professionals and get the tips, tools, and tactics that they use to get the job done and build a successful company. I'm a big fan of storytelling, and I'm excited about today's guest. Before we get started, let's give a big shout out to my new sponsor, Serve Manager. They have a special gift for all of my listeners at the end of today's episode. Welcome back to the show, Server Nation. Our guest today is a Tennessee mom who has dedicated her life to solving cold cases after cracking the 26-year-old case of her former college roommate. Her incredible story, which was featured on Dateline, Anderson Cooper Live, and Crime Watch, and numerous other TV and radio shows, she is here today. Shiela works on cold cases, including missing persons and murders. The Tennessee mother of two has captivated the media as well as the hearts of America with her life-changing story. Shiela Wysocki, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I heard about your podcast and I heard some of the things that you had going on. And as someone who aspires to be a private investigator, I can't help but want to, be involved and just have a good conversation with you. Shiela, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you got started in this industry.
I got into being a PI in 2004 when I wanted the Dallas Police Department to reopen my college roommate's murder case. And unfortunately, a phone call from a mom wasn't going to make them open up the case. So through a series of events, I got my PI license. And in 2008, we had DNA run. And in 2010, we got a conviction of capital murder for the person that murdered my roommate.
So, and I really want to hear all the different stories that you have. You have just so much value to be able to provide to the listeners today. But I want to understand, how does a mom who is just a little bit concerned, right? That's one of the reasons why they didn't want to just go into it. It's like, there's lots of moms that are concerned. What makes you different than others? Like, how did you get to where you got, just that one thing that made it happen for you?
I was a pain in the ass, and that is the nickname that my partners have for me is PETA. I don't give up. I'm persistent. I'm not going to let go. When I know it's the right thing, you just keep pursuing. And that's basically it. I wasn't going to go away, and I had to figure out how to get it done. And that's in any investigation. You got to figure out how to get it done and what's the way to do it. And that's what I did. I knew we had DNA. I knew we had fingernail scraping. So I knew the evidence that was available. It was just a matter of getting someone to the case with me.
That's awesome. And you found somebody finally?
Yes. There was a female detective. I think they were so sick of me that they had her call me kind of to pat me on the head and tell me to go away. And she actually pulled the DNA and got it sent off. And now, the guy's on death row.
Oh my gosh.
There in one county, there are 7,000 unsolved cases, and we're talking one county. So can you imagine I heard a statistic, and I'm not sure. I think they started keeping statistics in the 80s. And I heard recently there's 300,000 plus unsolved cases. So that means there are 300 plus unsolved cases for families, for victims.
Oh my goodness. Well, Shiela, you have a lot of different things going on. I'm excited to hear about all of it. But Process Server Daily, we want to end it on a good note. So we start with your worst experience. What was your worst experience working out there in the field?
My very worst experience was working with a family, figuring out who took their missing child and murdered their missing child, and trying to get the state police to work with me. And they got so mad at me that they came and searched my house and intimidated me, threatened to throw me in jail, and put out press releases that I was not credible and a liar. And that was the worst experience.
Oh, wow.
Yep. They came to intimidate me and shut me down.
Wow. And what do you think led to that specifically? Like, take me to that moment so we can understand it better?
Okay, lesson learned as an investigator. Because I wasn't getting the cooperation, I was trying to figure out, well, how do you get cooperation? You take it to the media. Okay, note to self, you don't take it to the media and call out the state police telling them they're incompetent and not expect to get a backlash. And I was too naive to think they could do anything, but they have bigger guns.
Wow. That is definitely a lesson learned, Shiela. I had a local experience with a deputy when I called and tried to get a civil standby, and I did a social media thing talking about how I wish, they'd help me clean up the area. And then I got a letter in the mail said that I needed to go before the Business and Professions Board and stuff like that. And it's just, it has repercussions, everything you do.
You expect the white hat people to be white hat people. You don't expect them to be revengeful because you're thinking you're all rowing the same boat, going to get the same goal and finish line. And there are people poking holes in that boat. They're not going for the same goal.
Right. And that's really unfortunate. That's sad. And that's how you end up with all these cases unsolved.
Exactly. And there are plenty of people out there that want to help these families, but, it's scary going up constantly fighting law enforcement.
Right. So right away, setting the tone so you can get law enforcement on your side. Is that something you consider right from the get-go to try to find an end, find a person on the inside?
So we can talk about that. I have had law enforcement help me, and then they have lost their jobs. So that's the experience I've had. That's the honest experience I've had.
That's too bad. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, because they were doing the right thing and they were the good guys.
Well, I have to tell you, Shiela, it's terrible to hear that about your own system of government and system. But this is the world. This is the reality that we're living in. And you're somebody that's kind of stepped out there and said, you know what, not only am I going to try to solve these cases, but I'm going to go public with it and on my own platform. And that's the beauty of technology, of social media, of all of this, is that the power has been given back to the people, if you will. And so it's really cool to interview and to hear it from, I guess, the horse's mouth, as it were. That's a terrible experience to have them come into your house and do that kind of stuff. What is your best discovery? What was your greatest experience working in the field? So
in that same very case, when the trial recently happened, the state police had to admit they were wrong and I was right. So, of course, it was several years later, but at least I knew I was doing the right thing for that family, and I did the right thing, and I was right about who murdered their child.
Shiela, how do you handle that pressure? I mean, I can't even imagine. Like I myself, I have a lot of resources. I have a lot of abilities. I would consider myself fairly intelligent. I learned from people like yourself. If I got involved in that, I think the hardest part for me was being able to handle the pressure of dealing with somebody that maybe murdered their own child. How do you deal with somebody like that? And if you don't want to go into it too much, we don't have to. But like that to me is the most fascinating thing, is like, how do you manage that?
Well, in that particular case, they didn't murder their child. I just figured out who did murder their child. How do I handle the pressure of what I do? I have a lot of faith. And, not to get into a religious conversation, but I couldn't do this every day if I didn't believe in God. Maybe not religion, but God. I couldn't do it if I didn't have the support system. So I have a huge network of private investigators that support me, and I support them in their cases. So it's a community, and it's a small community. What I do, there's very few of us in the country, and we know what each one has gone through.
So Shiela, what can someone do out there? They have a big heart. They want to help out. What can I guess you could say the average Joe, what can they do out there to be able to help solve some of the cases that you're solving? Does it take like a super expert investigative person, or can just anyone do it?
Yeah, anybody can do it. So my greatest thing right now is called crowdsourcing investigating. And I have started different groups, Facebook groups on cases. And so we go through the cases I'm working on, and I put out the evidence that I can, and I get the smartest people with the greatest insight writing me, talking to me, and that's what I've started doing. And I've worked on other podcasts putting the cases out there saying, I need someone smarter than me because I want to be the dumbest person in the room. So I think the general public can look at a case and tell me what I'm missing.
That's good. Crowdsourcing is always a good crowdsource investigation, you're saying. So you put out the information and then all of a sudden you just start getting from multiple sources different things.
Yes, and I did CrimeCon, and I'm a big proponent of CrimeCon. I took a group of people, it's supposed to be 200 and 400 showed up, and we took a case and we walked through that case, and we're going to trial in November. From presenting that case, that group of people, we had doctors and nurses, just a whole group of incredible housewives, people like me who had children at home, look at the case and, come back with great ideas that I followed up on. And some panned out and some didn't.
That is so cool. I'm actually really excited about this. After the show, I want to talk to you more about it and maybe associate on this a little more because I want to be able to help. I live in an area, pot growers and, people come missing all the time up in the middle of the mountains and stuff. And so I'm sure there's some work that can be done in my local area.
Absolutely. I think it can be done anywhere. I mean, there are cases, CrimeCon is probably bringing more crime fighter people together as a community. And what I'm seeing, watching their website and what they've done, how many cases are out there? And there's that crime sleuth group. I mean, there are just many, many groups. Why not put them all together and figure things out?
That is so cool. Maybe start your own association.
Yeah, I don't have time. I love our groups, though. Like yesterday in my Facebook group from the workshop, I said, okay, I need this on this particular case. How many people can look into it? And, I had all these people write me back. And I was in a meeting one day with an attorney and he said, can you get me the statistics on this? And I said, let me just put it out in my Facebook group. Within an hour, I had pages of statistics that we needed for this case.
That's really powerful. So Shiela, what are you working on right now that has you most fired up?
I have taken one of my cases and done a podcast on it. And to me, that has been the most rewarding experience, hard experience, but very rewarding. What I've gotten from it is 30 minutes each Thursday, hopefully, depending on editing. I put out just a section on the case. And then I've been getting tips. So I have spent this week following up on every single tip that's come in. And it is so incredibly exciting that I'm getting so far in the case that no one's ever gotten this information.
And so I got to say, it seems like to me when I'm doing like a skip trace, for instance, I search somebody's address, I find them. I find their mother, but their mother doesn't know where they are. And I guess you get to like a cold, that's why they call it a cold case, right? They got to a point where they couldn't go any further. And so with the tools that you're using with technology and the sourcing and your networking and all this stuff, you're saying that you've kind of developed and built this way to receive more tips, more ideas. And they may not even be particular to that case. They might just be that someone looked at the case and thought, well, have you ever thought about this?
Exactly. So yesterday, one of the people that I work with, whenever I want someone to poke holes in a case, I'll send it to two people. And this one particular person, he goes, if I were you, I'd get a biometric person to look at the injuries and see the exact fall and exact injury and line them up. And I was like, where do I get that? So now I'm going to find a biometric person to look at this fall.
So people watch these TV shows where they get all excited and, where people are trying to solve these different crimes and stuff on TV. And this is real life for you. That's what's so cool.
Absolutely. And it's so exciting I only work for victims' families. That is the only people. I don't work criminal cases. I only work for cold cases, victims' families. So when I call the mom or dad and I say, hey, I got this tip in, these are the steps I'm taking. Do you know how exciting it is for the family to know someone is caring and calling and following up? And they have, my cases, they have armies of people helping them.
So I have to ask you this. So after being a husband and a father, I'm most importantly an entrepreneur. I have to be able to provide for them. You're going out there and you're doing this great service. And to me, it builds character so much to be able to do the kinds of things that you're doing. But what about payment? How do you pay the bills?
So I charge, I have been told I'm the most expensive private investigator in the country, which is not true, because I think I could work at McDonald's for the amount of time that I spend on my my cases, but I do charge my clients, and I'm long-term. So I'm with these families for 2 or 3 years, and my families, unfortunately, some of them have to mortgage the house. And I would mortgage my house if it meant answers for the death of a child. So I do charge. I don't charge as much as I should. The reality is I have a husband who makes really good money. And so I am able to support. I don't have to worry about a house or food or anything. That podcast I'm paying for myself. So I'm going to do Patreon. It's the first time I've ever done it. I don't know if I like it or not, but I'm going to do it because if we're going to get these answers, I'm going to have to pay for the production of the podcast.
Well, that's awesome, Shiela.
I will tell you, I charge $10,000 up front. That's my retainer.
Well, that's really good. I appreciate you kind of going into the finances of it a little bit because all of us want to participate and kind of maybe get into it. I mean, I know myself, I do. I don't know how much I would charge based on the skill, but when you first got started, how did you go about it? Is this something that you were like, okay, am I just doing all this for free? You had to feel like that a little bit, right?
So at first I did do it for free to kind of get a feel for it. I've learned you don't do anything for free. You don't, because your client doesn't respect you. Your time is not valued. And that's when I got in trouble with the state police. So now I require a deposit, a retainer. We work on the hourly rate, and I have to have insurance on every single case separately. So I don't do insurance overall. Each case I do has a separate policy.
That's really good. Okay, well, those are some great tips for those out there. Server Nation, if you want to make a difference, you want to go out there, these are the types of things that you need to be thinking about. And Sheila's been dropping these major value bombs on us today. So you guys sit back, relax for a moment, listen to the awesome sponsor that we have today, and we'll be right back for the rapid fire round. Server Nation, imagine what you could do with another 25 minutes per job. This is how much time process servers who use Server Manager are saving. At just 100 jobs per month, that's over 40 hours that can be spent growing your business or doing more important things like spending time with your family. From job creation to affidavit generation, Server Manager is full-featured and hands down the most intuitive process serving software on the market. I use it for my business. I think you should use it too. In my firm, it's important for me to be able to automate the systems that get things done. Serve Manager has done just that with their API integration, where you can set up literally any app that integrates with Zapier will integrate with Serve Manager. I love it. I've set my whole firm up. Go to processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager to get your free trial. If you like it after the 14-day free trial, they've offered to give you another 60 days for free as a thank you for being a Process Server Daily listener. That's processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager. Okay, Server Nation, welcome back to the show. Shiela, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite tool for skip tracing?
To hire Valerie in Texas, to call her and ask her to find someone for me. Or there are several other companies, but I hire out.
Yeah, it is a really good thing to have like a Rolodex of people that do the different things where they specialize in that particular thing. Because you're going to save time. You will end up saving money as you save more time. And so if people aren't paying you, hire a collection agency to go after them, because this isn't your business. Your business is whatever it is you do. And so you're good at what you do. What is the greatest advice you've ever received?
One thing is continuing education. So I, along with the other PIs that I work with, we all go to continuing education, and I constantly learn something new. So in Tennessee and Texas, you have to have so many hours. I have triple the hours because I want to know the newest things. So my advice is go to continuing education above and beyond.
And then what is your favorite book? What book would you recommend?
I love Mark McClish's I Know You're Lying. He is a statement analysis guy. I love what he teaches. And I've taken his class and talked to him and used him on cases. And he's excellent at the way he teaches. Listen to what people are saying, because people are telling you the truth. You just need to listen to what they're saying.
So Shiela, where do you see the private investigation industry going in the next 10 years?
I believe that we are headed in the direction where private investigators are going to be hired by police departments.
Wow. Because now, do you think that's because the cases aren't getting solved or because private investigators are becoming prominent at getting the job done?
I think cases are not being solved, so they're stacking up. And I think there's a lack of detectives out there. And I think that private investigators get the job done.
Well, it kind of coincides and goes with what they say about independent contractors. As things move from employees to independent contractors here in the next 20 years, they say 90% of us will be ICs. So it kind of goes along with that they wouldn't hire necessarily inside the police department, but hire someone else out to get the job done and to be more efficient. So,
right.
Shiela, what is your parting piece of advice for Server Nation?
My parting advice is get involved. Don't sit and watch TV and think, I could do that. Go do it, because you can make a difference in someone's life.
And can I just add, Shiela, and you can make some money doing it.
Oh, absolutely. There are many. I mean, if you're a good researcher, people like me will hire you. I mean, I know that, finding in skip tracing, if you're good at finding people, then go out and help someone like you, or find a private investigator that needs help, work part-time. There are so many areas that you can make money if you really work at it, but be smart about it. Don't give your services away because people don't value you if you give it away, and don't be on the cheap. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I have this conversation with brand new PIs and I mentor some of them. Do not go out and be the $25 an hour. Do not go out and give your services away. Go out and be the most expensive, but by God, you better be the best.
So you would say start out with, now just to bring it down to the most granular level, let's say today I wanted to go find a case that was unsolved. Where would I go for that? Well,
you could go on CrimeCon. They do a great job bringing them, forward. There are many Facebook groups and Google Hangouts that are talking about cases. You can just Google crimes. You wouldn't believe how many show up. Then I would get into the Facebook groups and start looking at the cases and seeing what you can add to them. There are great podcasters out there that are doing crime podcasts.
That is some great stuff. But Shiela, before we close here, what is the best way that we can connect with you? How can Server Nation keep up with you?
They can go to my website, ShielaWysocki.com, or they can email me at Shiela@ShielaWysocki.com. And I also have a tip question line, 888-599-0008. I don't get back to that as quickly as email and going to my website, but they can get me there.
So Shiela, I want to personally thank you for coming on the show. I've been impressed with everything you have going on. I'm going to go to iTunes and I'm going to subscribe to your podcast, Without Warning podcast. And I'm going to do that right after the show because I want to listen to everything you have going on and be a part of this.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I appreciate your listeners listening.
Until next time, Server Nation, you've been served up some awesomeness by Scrappy Mom PI and Mighty Mike, the podcast server. Server Nation, I hope you enjoyed that awesome episode we just had with the wonderful Shiela Wysocki. Go check out her podcast, Without Warning, and let's be a part of this crowdsourcing investigative effort. You can listen to the podcast and respond to her with the different ideas you think that maybe she hasn't considered before. And as always, don't forget, go get your free trial. 60 days Serve Manager is giving you guys. Go to processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager.